Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, hi, my name is Dana. I upload a new video every single Sunday, and whenever I can, I like to add an extra or two in during the week. So now is a great time to subscribe to my channel to stay on top of all of my new videos. Also, if you're new to the tea journey, welcome. You have come to the right place. I recently wrote an ebook all about the basics of tea, and this little series is meant to go along with that. So if you're interested in having all of this information from the series in print as well, that ebook will be linked in my description box of every video I post. For today, I am going to be finishing out the Camellia sinensis portion of this series. Camellia sinensis is the tea plant, and all of the tea types I've talked about so far come from that plant. So this video is my last one of the series where I talk about real tea, like real actual tea that came from the Camellia sinensis plant. But that doesn't mean the series is over. I do have a couple other things up my sleeve because although only Camellia sinensis is technically tea, there are a lot of other things that are tea in our hearts that we steep and consume the same way. So the series isn't over, but this one kind of seals off the real tea portion. And today I'm going to be talking about black tea. I feel like when you talk about tea with people who don't really know a lot about tea, like with people who aren't tea people like we are, the first thing they sort of think of is black tea. Like, I feel like everybody's mom and grandma drank Lipton when they were growing up, and I feel like you go out to a restaurant and you order iced tea, a lot of the times you'll get an unsweetened black iced tea. But once you really get into black tea, honestly, I feel like I say this a lot in this series, but the sky is the limit. Black tea is known for its dark color that it gets from being so heavily oxidized compared to other tea types. And since it is so oxidized, it has a really strong, distinct flavor. It can really like stand up to basically anything. So when you get into black tea blends, I think it would be hard to find something that you can't put in a blend with a black tea because it is so like able to hold its own against anything. So whether it's spices, fruit, floral ingredients, anything goes really with a black tea. But a straight black tea on its own can go anywhere from like malty and astringent to like smooth and honey-like. So there's definitely a lot to explore with black tea as well. Personally, I don't drink a whole lot of black tea on a regular basis, so I'm really excited to do that today. So since black tea can steep for quite a while, we can just go ahead and get it steeping and then talk about all the processing and everything. I have this tea from David's Tea. It's organic Nepal black, and I just have it in this little bag in there. So let's go ahead and get that steeping. Black tea is not sensitive, so you can use boiling water to steep your black tea. I'm just gonna do that 2.5 teaspoon measurement as best I can because these leaves are quite kind of like long and fluffy. So I'll just go ahead and plop that in there and then fill this up with our hot water. And for a black tea, you do want to let it steep about 5 minutes or so. A little more is okay as well though, because it's not so sensitive like the other tea types that we've talked about. So let's set this aside and we could go right into all of the processing and all the different awesome qualities of a black tea. Black teas are mostly grown in Eastern Asia. The one that I'm going to be drinking with you guys today is from Nepal, but black tea is also grown in China, India, all around Eastern Asia, and the tea leaves are plucked once they reach peak maturity. So generally after the leaves are plucked, they're left to dry indoors for about 12 hours. They should be like nice and dried and withered, but also they should be retaining enough moisture after this step to stay at least a little bit pliable. The next step is to roll or cut the leaves. So the tea leaves will go into a big rolling machine which will twist them into shape while also exposing some more of their juices because, like I said, the black teas are going to be pretty heavily oxidized, so you want those juices exposed so the tea leaves can get really nice and darkly oxidized. Some rolling machines have little tiny blades on them that break the tea up into like really small like granules, which are mostly used in tea bags. So I can kind of show you guys a visual. I have this brand is awesome, Taylors of Harrogate. My friend Lisa sent me this, and this is an Assam tea. It's a really nice strong malty tea from India. And I'm just gonna open up this bag so I can show you how the little granules look compared to the Nepal black that we have that's just shaped and not broken into the granules. All right, so I'm just gonna open this up. I can always make it in an infuser, so it's not going to waste, don't worry. And then I'll take some of that Nepal black so we can really see the difference between black tea leaves that are broken into granules versus the ones that are just shaped and not broken up quite so finely. So here's the Nepal black that we are trying today. So as you can see, these are pretty long, twisty, and fluffy. There's definitely a middle ground between these two, but for now, these are kind of the two extremes. So these are like nice and long and twisty compared to these little tea granules. So it's almost like the texture of coffee grounds. Obviously a little softer because it's leaves, but as you can see, they're really super fine. It's almost like a powder. Generally, these types of granules are found more in tea bags, whereas the bigger, longer, fluffier leaves are loose. Next is the most important step in processing a black tea, the oxidization. So during this step, the tea leaves are resting in a warm environment, and since they just went through that rolling machine, their juices are exposed and coming in contact with the oxygen, and that is what makes them oxidize. So as the tea leaves oxidize, they're going to change in color. They'll go from green to brown to black. So the more they're oxidized and the darker the color of the tea, the stronger and bolder the taste will be. And the last step, once they reach the desired level of oxidization, is to fire or bake the tea leaves. And they heat them until they are completely free of moisture. So the variation in taste between different black teas, it goes anywhere from like malty and bold. Like an Irish breakfast tea will have like a really malty, almost like acidically astringent flavor, whereas something like an English breakfast will be a little more bold but smooth. And then there are other tea types that have really nice, smooth, honey, sweet undertones. And the word astringent, when I first got into my tea journey, I didn't really know what astringent meant, but it refers to like that mouthfeel. Like when you drink a black tea, sometimes you'll get sort of a drying mouthfeel, and that is the astringency. So when you get that sort of drying mouthfeel, that tea is astringent. Like I said, you don't have to worry as much about the water temperature. You can use boiling water right from the kettle to make your black tea. And you want to steep it like around 5 to 7 minutes, you know, give or take. But black tea doesn't oversteep like green tea or white tea does, so you don't really run much of a risk of it getting oversteeped or bitter. Okay, so tea blends with black tea can go any which way. We've all heard of Earl Grey, which is a like traditional English tea. So I have another one from Taylors of Harrogate, and this one says light and fragrant black tea. Earl Greys generally have bergamot in them and lavender, cornflower, some floral element as well. And this is very popular in England, as is like plain black tea with milk and sugar. In India, it's popular to add a blend of spices to make a chai, and I have a ton of videos where I try different chais. I kind of made it my mission this fall to try as many chai teas as possible, so I tried a lot of interesting varieties there. And in North America, like I was saying, I feel like most restaurants, when you order an iced tea, you're gonna get a black tea with lemon, sometimes sweet, sometimes unsweet. So different parts of the world have different ways of enjoying black tea, and that just goes to show how versatile it can be when blended with other ingredients. So obviously citrus fruits are popular, lemon, orange, bergamot, also those chai spices like cinnamon, clove, nutmeg. Cardamom is really awesome. David's Tea's cardamom French toast is one of my favorites of all time. And then another thing I really love is like desserty ingredients like chocolate, vanilla, coffee. So I thought it would be fun to show you guys some of the teas in my personal collection when it comes to black tea. And I have quite a bit. Even though black tea isn't my favorite tea of all time, I do have quite a few black teas I can show you. I'll start with this just basic masala chai from Adagio. This one is just a pretty traditional regular chai. Like when you hear of chai, this would be sort of what you think of. And it has black tea, cardamom, ginger root, cloves, natural cinnamon flavor, and cinnamon bark. So this one is just kind of the perfect blend of spices. I don't know anyone who doesn't love a good chai latte every now and again. And this is like kind of the perfect candidate to make that. And then if we kind of go off into the direction of chai, I have maple chai from David's Tea, which was one of my favorite chais that I tried all year. And this one has obviously maple, but it's a really nice combination of a lot of things that are really great with black tea. So there's black tea, apple, ginger, brown sugar, so that nice sweetness is really good. This tea is so balanced. It just has the perfect like sweet and savory. It's great. Roasted chicory root, orange peel, cinnamon, maple sugar, cloves, cardamom, black pepper to really add that depth of spice. And then there's natural and artificial flavoring. I really loved this one. Another one of my favorite chais is from David's Tea, and it is pumpkin chai. This one's really fun. It's different than a traditional chai. It doesn't have all the spices, but my old boss at David's Tea explained to me that chai refers to any spiced tea. So even if you have a tea just with cinnamon, you can still call it a chai. It's a little off from what a traditional chai would be, but it still is technically chai. But this one has caramel bits and also like little pumpkin sprinkles. So this one is really cute and fun for Halloween and fall. And like the smell and taste of it just always brings me right back to the year that I worked at David's Tea around Halloween, and it was such a good time. And it, needless to say, it makes an awesome latte. It's perfect. And then sort of bridging the gap from chai to citrusy, I have this awesome tea from David's Tea. It's called Glitter and Gold, and it has clove, lemon peel, and like little sugar crystals. So it's sweet, citrusy, and spicy. And one of my favorite things about it is that it has star sprinkles in it. So it looks like you're just like drinking the galaxy. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? And this tea sort of is, let me see if I could get a scoop with more, just the black tea, and I'll put it on a plate. But I feel like this is sort of a good medium between that Nepal black and the tea granules, because these tea leaves aren't like cut into granules, but they are a little bit smaller pieces than the Nepal black that we looked at. So that's kind of interesting. That's sort of that middle ground, more common sort of black tea that I was talking about. But the clove and the lemon peel, it doesn't sound like it would be that good, but it really is. It's just like there's something so special about this tea that I absolutely love. This one is called Lady Marmalade, and it has apricot, ginger, and cream flavored. So it has ingredients like candied papaya, cinnamon, rose blossoms, nutmeg. So this is another nice blend between, you know, those spices and the fruitiness, where like I feel like this one edges more towards the fruity though. David's Tea even had a tea called Maracuja Mango, and it was mango and passion fruit and really nice and tropical. So honestly, anything goes with a black tea. Just totally fruity to mixes of fruity and spice to dessert teas. I love this one, Vanilla Cappuccino. This was part of David's Tea's iced latte collection, and it's a tea and coffee hybrid. So it has the black tea leaves and coffee beans and a bunch of other nice ingredients. So this one has candied pineapple to add sweetness, rose hips, and it's super good. It's really nice and vanilla-y, and when I made it the first time as an iced latte, I put cold foam on top, and it was absolutely delicious that way as like a tea, coffee, cappuccino sort of hybrid kind of vibe. It's really, really awesome. I love this one. Then I also have this Christmassy one, Sugar Plum Black Tea from Plum Deluxe. That was really awesome for Christmas. David's Tea has this one, Choco Chaga Detox. It had chaga mushroom powder in it. So this one was really interesting. It was pretty astringent. It has like a nice chocolatey flavor as well as the benefits of the chaga. It's like a dark flavor like chocolate or even like a mushroomy flavor can sort of like blend in with a black tea because it is so dark in flavor. Tea by Daniel has some really great ones. This one is Almond Cookie Crumble. It's a really subtly flavored black tea, so it doesn't have a whole lot of ingredients, but it has roasted almonds and a nice like sort of a biscotti kind of flavor to it, and this one was really good. And then I love this one. It's called When Harry Met Meghan, and it has like a chocolate covered strawberry vibe and purple sprinkles in it. And this was like the most heartwarming thing ever, but Tea by Daniel were sweet enough to send us a special edition of this one where it said when Gerald met Dana, because my husband's name is Gerald, and it had like our little love story on it. So I keep that one displayed because that was one of the sweetest gifts from people I haven't met in person yet. So they are just wonderful. I cannot recommend Tea by Daniel enough, especially because like their teas taste so good, but also they are literally the sweetest people. Another type of black tea I find really interesting, it's not a blend, but it's really, really unique, I feel like, is Lapsang Souchong. The first time I tried it was at David's Tea, and I remember I was going through my tea tasting challenge when I worked there where we have to try all of the teas on the wall. And I always ask, I don't know why, but whenever I like start new jobs, I ask like, what's the weirdest thing? Like, you know, what are the weirdest things? Like I like to know like the weirdest experiences when I start new jobs. It's a good conversation starter. Plus it's like, I don't know, it's interesting to me. So I asked, what are like the weirdest teas here? And someone told me Lapsang Souchong. So they took it down from the wall and made me a cup, and I really didn't know what to expect, but I actually liked it. It tastes like a bonfire in a cup, like that smoky smell, like, you know, when you go to a bonfire and then like you go home at night and you smell like bonfire, it's that in a cup of tea, because it's black tea that's like smoked over pine needles, so they burn pine needles and the scent goes into the tea and the taste as well. So it has a really dark smoky taste, almost like bacon or something. And I don't eat bacon, I don't eat meat at all, so it's kind of weird that I like it, but it has a really interesting smokiness that I didn't know could be in a tea. So Lapsang Souchong is a really cool straight tea that I recommend trying. It's definitely not for everybody, but I think you do at least have to try it. I have this blend from Plum Deluxe called Fireside Chat, and it's sort of like a spin on a Lapsang. It has the black tea and rooibos tea as well, cinnamon, ginger, cocoa nibs, safflower, calendula, vanilla walnut, chocolate essences, and it definitely has that smoky thing. So I think the black tea in this is either a Lapsang or similar to a Lapsang. All right, so I think we've given our black tea enough time to steep and we are ready to sip it. So I'll remove that infuser. And check it out. This one is a really nice, pretty color. It's almost like a honey color. This is definitely not the darkest of the black teas. I feel like this is almost on the lighter side, and it's really beautiful. But it definitely smells like black tea. This isn't something I normally drink on a regular basis like I do with the greens and the oolongs. So I'm actually really looking forward to tasting this on camera and sort of seeing what notes I notice. So let's go ahead and give it a try. This one is really nice and sweet and smooth as far as black teas go. It's definitely not very astringent. It has really good honey undertones. It still has that like little bit of maltiness that a black tea has, because I mean, it's a black tea. But as far as black teas go, I think this is more on the side I prefer, with like those sweet, smooth notes and not so much of that malty, bold, astringent kind of black tea. I really like this organic Nepal black because it is so nice and smooth. When I worked at David's Tea, there was a lady who would buy this tea by the kilo. It would come in like these vacuum sealed like bricks almost, like these silver bags that like all the air was sealed out, so it would be like a brick shape of tea, and she would just buy whatever we had of that, like of the unopened from the supplier brand new bags of tea. I'm not really sure what she did with it. I remember one person said like maybe she uses it in her bath because since it is astringent, it can be good for your skin. I don't know if I'd recommend like bathing in black tea though, or bathing in large quantities of any tea, but I really do think she just drank a lot of Nepal black. It was just her favorite tea. And honestly, I could see why. If I was a black tea person, if black tea was like my tea type of choice, this would definitely be the type for me. So each and every tea type, you know, when you hear like white tea, green tea, oolong, you have a certain flavor in mind. Like you can kind of imagine like what it tastes like, but within each category, there's still so much variety, and it's really, really interesting. And I think sort of like refreshing myself on that has been a blessing for me while I've been doing this little series, because it's been a good reminder for me that, you know, there are a lot of great black teas out there, and I don't drink them a lot. And there is a big variety of different white teas to try. And, you know, I get settled into drinking my regular favorites all the time, and I don't venture out too much from those except for when I buy new blends and things. But as far as straight teas go, not even blends, there is so much that you can try. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed the last of the official teas from my Basics of Tea series, our very last Camellia sinensis. But stay tuned, because I am going to be talking about infusions, which are things that don't come from the tea plant, but we still consume the same way. So I'm excited to go into that. I have absolutely loved drinking all these straight teas and talking about the different tea types, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed making these. Let me know in the comments how you like your black teas. Do you like chais? Do you like straight black teas? Do you like an iced tea with lemon? Let me know. And as always, I hope you are having a beautiful day, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.